All right, so I'm going to go over the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last summer. Biden actually helped push it, and it's pretty cool. It extends the ITC, the federal tax credit, out for another 10 years. And what it does is it gives us access to more, funding from the tax credit, and not necessarily us, but like our customers get that 30% year in, year out for the next, from now till 2030, which is pretty freaking cool. All right, that basically tells the customers that, like, hey, the government is incentivizing you to use clean energy. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act was passed. So when people, like, when we step back and we kind of show customers, like, hey, the government is pushing clean energy, what makes you think they're pushing clean energy? Why do you think they need it? Well, we need clean energy because we don't have enough carbon. We don't have enough fossil fuels. We are in an energy crisis. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act was passed. And another thing that you can tell the customers, you can say 40% of customers are supposed to have solar panels by 2030, which means out of 10 homes, 4 of them have to have panels by 2030. And when you tell people that, they get kind of like, oh wow, oh this is happening, oh yeah, I need to do this, right? Sometimes we have to tell people what they need to hear in order for them to move forward with what they need to do, right? So that's why you tell them, hey, this was passed, and literally I print it out and I laminate it, and I show my customers, like, yeah, this is happening. Literally by 2030, 4 out of 10 homes have to go solar. That honestly right there, when you tell them that, it shows them that, like, oh, this is happening, I need to do this, and what do I need to do to qualify, okay? So that's kind of something that you need to understand how it works. The other thing too is there's what's called a term, it's called Renewable Portfolio Standard. It's called an RPS. Every single state has what's called an RPS, a Renewable Portfolio Standard. Okay, what that means is every state has a certain amount of clean energy that they have to comply with, and it's very aggressive portfolio, it's a very aggressive goal, right? California has a very high RPS. Why? Because it's a very clean energy state. Hawaii, I believe, has the most aggressive RPS. Arizona, Nevada, all these states in the West Coast, they're very prone to using clean energy. In the East Coast, you have Massachusetts, you have New Jersey, you have New York. There's other states that are very pro-solar, and those states are very favorable to sell solar because they have a high RPS. So what you need to understand, and the customer needs to understand, is that every state has to comply with a certain amount of renewable power. Okay, so whenever they tell you, oh, it sounds too good to be true, what's the catch? Well, if we pull the curtains back a little bit and we dive into the RPS, right? For example, Florida isn't that aggressive with the RPS, but we can still show customers that, like, Florida is, wanting green energy, wanting renewable power. And when we tell them these things, it makes it seem less gimmicky. It makes it seem like, oh, it's an equal transaction. It makes it seem like, as a community, everyone needs to do this, and why haven't I done this before? This is kind of a no-brainer, right? So tell them that. Say, look, in this state of Florida, right, we are complying with the RPS. Every utility company has to have a certain amount of renewable power. And if they don't, then the state comes down hard on them and they charge them huge fees. So the utility company has 2 choices. They can go out and they can buy a bunch of land and they can cut the trees down, which is deforestation, right? And they can buy the land, and then they have to sit there and get 2 to 3 years worth of permitting to get huge solar farms, right? And then they call that renewable energy, okay? Or they can go to a customer that already has a perfect infrastructure, right? You have the roof is facing the sun. That's what we like to call a small infrastructure because it's already there. It's not like you have to recreate it. So your home is a small power plant that can be used, and then the power company is going to use that as a renewable energy, right? So that's what's in it for the power company. What's in it for the customer is they get to have all their power at a lower cost for the next 25 years. And what's in it for us, the salespeople, is we get to earn their business, and we get to use them as a reference for the other neighbors to get panels, okay? So when customers understand this and you kind of explain this to them, it kind of clicks in their mind, like, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't sound gimmicky. This sounds like an equal transaction. I should move forward with this because obviously the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, and the RPS, the Renewable Portfolio Standard, you should Google it and make sure you do your homework on it, specifically per state. Every state has a different one, right? But as a US, as a whole, as a nation, right, what's the goal? 40% by 2030, okay? So I hope that helps. We're gonna be doing the net metering in the next video, and we'll go ahead and upload it.